Welcome to the Southeast Retirement Planners Podcast, where we will go beyond the balance sheet with our guests, not only to share from our personal experience as financial advisors of over 25 plus years, but also to learn from our guests about the issues and topics that are important to them. Our firm specializes in taking care of the financial plans for individuals and small businesses by helping our clients identify their individual goals and taking a conservative and ongoing approach to helping accomplish them. We are located in Hickory, North Carolina, and look forward to continuing to serve our clients and our community. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
Hi, I'm Kelle Huffman, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's Southeast Retirement Planners Podcast. We'd like for you to check out our podcast online at seretirementplanners.com. We have a whole library of podcasts, and we'd love for you to like and subscribe and share our pages. And each week we have different topics, and many are investment related and many are not investment related. And we feel that clients, and educated clients, are great clients. So I'd like to welcome Vicki Murray today. She's with Safe Harbor, and she's going to tell us about the mission and how it started. How did Safe Harbor start?
All right. Good. Thank you for having me, Kelly. I love talking about Safe Harbor, and the history really is pretty amazing. In 2004, Safe Harbor was incorporated. Our founder is Debbie Haynes, a dear friend of mine, and she was actually doing jail ministry. And she kept seeing the same women. They would leave jail and they would come back. And in Debbie's mind, she thought, if I can just teach them about Jesus, and if they can come to know Jesus, and they're not going to be back. But what she learned was they already knew about Jesus. And so they were just going back to the same lifestyle every time they would leave. And so I felt a call on her life to have a place for women to start over, that she would take them out of the same environment and lower barriers for them to move forward. So that actually happened in 2006. We opened the doors of our community center. That still exists today. We serve women and children that are experiencing homelessness. And we do lower the barriers that keep them in poverty, that keep them from moving forward. Most of them do not have transportation. Many of them need medication. And so they can come to our place during the day, and they can take showers, they can wash their clothes, and most importantly, they work with a services navigator that what is that next thing they need. It may be that they need a birth certificate, and you may think, why in the world don't they have that? But a lot of our women are fleeing back.
And that's all they have is what's on their back.
That's right, and they've left all that.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, we're able to help them move forward, to help them obtain jobs and housing, and also relationships that they can be with healthy people.
Right. Great mentors and people that know. And like you said, navigating the system can be, I can't imagine if you don't even have copies, of birth certificates and or know how to navigate the system.
Kelly, we had a meeting about a year and a half ago that we pulled in all of our collaborating partners, and I drew a circle in the middle, and this was a woman that needed our services. Well, we're not a one-stop shop, but fortunately we have a lot of partners, and I started drawing the lines out from the circle. You go here for food, you go here for medical assistance, you go here for housing. And honestly, there were like 8 or 10 places. And what we realized that a lot of these women, that's hard for me to keep up with.
Absolutely.
But when you add a little bit of mental illness, it's almost impossible to keep those appointments and know where to go next. And so we've realized that we have to do a lot of hand-holding, a lot of warm handoffs. And that's very successful for the women.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they appreciate that, because I can't imagine. I can't imagine being in that situation.
Well, unfortunately, in the past couple of years, our numbers have dramatically climbed, the women needing our help, and also mental illness. Being able to navigate that with a clear mind is hard, but when you have a touch of mental illness, that can be almost impossible.
And to hold a job and to get the help you need to be able to hold a job.
In fact, we launched in October of last year. We've never had emergency housing for this population, but we shared this with. I shared it at our annual Celebrate the Harvest that we're seeing more elderly women that are medically fragile, more women that are mentally fragile, and we used to say, "We'll give you a hand up." But what we've had to say recently is, we'll give you a hand to hold, and we're going to help you jump through these hoops. So one of our supporters heard this, and he said, I can't let go of that. He said, I keep seeing my mom under a bridge somewhere. And he said, what do we need to do? So he made it possible to buy a house right on our block, and he paid to have it remodeled. And we now have 6 beds for the most vulnerable women that are on the street.
Okay, so can they have drug issues also and come to that house, or is it?
No, you have to be clean. We do. Now, in our community center, we don't drug check the day center.
The day, okay.
We don't check, at all. We serve you right where you are. But in our community living in this house, because it is community living, we do require a clean drug test.
Now, are children allowed to come there too?
Not there.
Not there. Okay.
Yeah, I wish we had a place for women and children. We do in our transitional housing.
Okay.
But not
once
here.
They go through the program. So you want to tell a little bit about the program? I have it as the residential program.
So, we call it the Whole Woman program because it really is a holistic program. This is for women that have had almost a lifetime of substance misuse. It's very sad. Many of the women that we see have been in addiction since their teen years. And so they've tried everything. We all know that person. They've tried the 60-day, the 90-day rehabs. They just need to go deeper than sobriety. And so we see substance use disorder as a disease. And so we have doctors that tend to their physical needs, whether that be medication or just a good, healthy checkup, but we also know it's emotional. So we have collaborating partners that do professional counseling with our women, and we also know that it's spiritual. And so we have discipleship for our ladies. And really, the key is learning who you are in Christ, because what we know is behavior follows belief. If you believe you're an addict, you're going to behave like an addict. But if you believe you're a new creation in Christ, then you're going to behave like that. So that's a big part of our program. It's a year long.
Okay, that was my other question. So it's a year long, whether you do well quickly or it's still a year long program. Okay, and then once they get through that year program, they can move. Or you have housing, and the families can come together?
That is correct. We have actually 14 apartments, an apartment complex. 14 are livable apartments. So when they finish that year, they can move into, we call it our Green Leaf Transitional Program, and then they can have their children. Actually, about the 9-month mark, they can begin spending weekends with their children because we want to nurture that relationship. And we have parenting classes. We have safe friends and mentors so that most of the ladies that we serve really haven't been able to be a healthy mother figure.
Right.
And unfortunately, many of them never saw that modeled anyway. Right. They came from dysfunctional families and saw a lot of that same behavior. So it's just really beautiful to see them get their children back and step into that.
Yeah, and then once they get on their feet from that, then they can move out on their own.
Yes, they've worked with a financial coach. They have get this, they save 75% of the money they earn. And so they work with a financial coach to make sure that happens because their utilities paid,
Right.
and then they begin paying a graduated programming fee so they can get used to putting that in their budgets.
Right, in their budgets. That's great. So baby steps, and they get someone on their feet.
That's right.
Yeah, that's so how many, so there's a 14 apartments there. So how many women can you serve in the
We have 10 beds.
10 beds in the
in the whole woman program.
Program.
Yes.
So that's you can have 24 at the same time plus the day.
Plus
programs.
and we have 6 beds in that passage, which is that that serves the women from the community center. And then we've been having 25, 30 women a day come to our community center for services.
Okay, and does that include a meal or lunch? I know there were some, at one time we talked about there's some donations for lunches.
Yes, we have, and we need more. Okay. We have volunteers that will come and either prepare lunch there, and we love it when they stay and visit with the women as well. Yeah. Some people can't do that, and they'll drop off lunches, but we have the Hickory Soup Kitchen is a wonderful partner. If we have a day that we don't have a volunteer bring lunch, then we'll go get to-go boxes.
Okay. Oh, yeah. They're across the street. That's just a great area. Well, good. Well, so I think I've got my questions answered from what I went through the website to just make sure I familiarize myself with everything you do, which is a lot. It's very extensive, and we appreciate that in the community. And talk about this community center a little bit, because that's a little bit new to me.
Okay.
The program, community, the day, is it called the day program?
Yeah, it's the community center. It's actually what Safe Harbor started with.
Okay.
When Debbie started, it was called a day shelter.
Okay.
But as we have grown up a little bit, it's the community center. And so, because we really want the women to find community there. So most of our women, I should say a lot of our women sleep at the Salvation Army. We've partnered with the Salvation Army since 2004, really. And we send a van every day to pick up any woman and child. So they can come and spend the day there. But we also have women that, women are the hidden homeless a lot because they're couch surfing wherever a friend or relative, would let them sleep. Yeah. We have women that do have cars that are sleeping in their cars. And then we have women that can't go to the Salvation Army because they can't test clean, or maybe they have an animal. You wouldn't believe, that's their companion.
Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't even think about that. I see a lot with animals, and so they can't go to the Salvation Army.
The pet can't stay there.
Yeah.
So they can come during the day. And recently, within the last year, we've added cots because of the women that are on the street. We find that they're coming in and they've had to stay awake for their own safety. And so we're allowing them to take naps just because we can't work with them when they're completely exhausted.
Yeah, they can't. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, so that's somewhere they can go during the day. So, and so I think I've told you the story about my friend and I were out walking and we saw a lady that definitely needed some help, but we didn't know what to do with her. She didn't ask for help, but we came back the next day. The other lady that I was with saw her the next morning, and so we started talking about what could we do, who can we call, what can we do? So I said Vicki would know, and then my friend said, well, that's a great podcast, and so that's how it came about. Even so that we can talk about that is there's a flyer we could give to them, and Vicki has given us a copy of this, and I think it can be found on the website. But we can give this flyer to tell them about the day program or the community center where they can go during the day. And also another suggestion on the website was the fast food card for $5. Don't give cash. That's the best.
It's best practice not to
do cash. And then have a water bottle or a snack, something that they could have right then.
Right.
And then get that to them and lead them to. And the hours for that
8 o'clock till 4:30,
Okay.
except on Thursdays we close at 2:30. And that's what I would always do, because if we can't help them, we have the resources there that we can send them. So we have these cards you can get at Safe Harbor, or you can print the flyer off online. But if you hand them that and say Safe Harbor can help direct you, Safe Harbor can help you with the resources, then that's a really good starting point for them.
That's great, because that's so good to know. Because I said I don't think there's anything we can do. I don't know what to do. But this is great. This is great because in the area that we work, we do come across ladies, and it's just ladies. Right?
At Safe Harbor, it's just women.
Yeah, and there are other services in the community for
yes,
men.
and just recently I had a man say, "Well, why do you hate men?" And I'm like, "Oh, we love men.
Yeah.
We want them to have the same opportunities and Strong Life in Hickory and Exodus.
Yes.
There's other places. We just know that we feel it's best to separate, and we can have better success that way.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And that's who we're called to serve.
Yeah. So I remember where I was the day that Debbie spoke to a group about, and it had just started, and that group was such an emotional time. I remember where I was when she told her story, and all about getting started, because it was off of Eleanor Road, where I would take donations because they took paint. That was the main thing.
Oh, that was our resource warehouse.
The resource warehouse.
Yeah.
I'm like, they will take paint, and which I thought was great. And then a lot of people went there to get paint.
That's right.
But that's how we kind of got started. But her story was amazing with the start. So that was, I remember where I was when I first heard about it.
It is an amazing story.
Evolved so much.
She is a hero of mine.
Yeah.
She was obedient. She was scared to death, but she was obedient.
Yeah.
And many people, women's lives have been transformed because she was obedient.
Absolutely. And starting from the one house from that to the block.
That's right.
And then to the 14 apartments. It's just
And
amazing.
Kelly, I would be amiss if I didn't really acknowledge our community, because we don't receive state or federal funding, and we're supported by this community. Yeah. So the growth that you've seen is a result of generous people in this community that care about women that are hurting and need a hand up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that leads to what can we do? Tell some things that we can do. And there's one other thing I want to touch on is the family recovery resources. Maybe we can do that now, because there's families involved. Is there anything that those of us that are touched by these issues can do?
Right now, the resources we have really on our website, it directs you to some downloads or that sort of thing. I would love, that's a dream of mine, is to have some family support groups, family counseling at Safe Harbor. But right now, it's just the resources that you can download.
Okay.
Yeah. I did want to mention, you mentioned Resource Warehouse. That's another arm of Safe Harbor. That's our thrift store.
Yes.
And that is another piece that has just really grown. We were off of Olenor Road, but we're now on Highway 70. And we have over 20,000 square feet. Again, the community is supported so well. I encourage everyone to please bring your, when you're spring cleaning, we take clothing. What we take is on our website, but it's also a great place to shop.
Yes.
And our women work there, and so they learn responsibility, they learn job skills. It's part of their programming.
Yeah, that's great. And my mom has volunteered there. So you have need for volunteers there.
We have a lot of need right now there, particularly for volunteers.
Yeah. I take a little bit. Every couple of weeks, because there's just a little something. But the men that are there to take it, they're also kind and so helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's the culture that we want for sure.
Yeah, that's great, and some great deals there too.
Some very good deals.
Yeah, very good deals. And then, so let's see, we got any other ways we can get involved? Are there needs for volunteer? Well, there's needs for volunteer for lunches.
Yes, we have right now. We have about 15 openings right now for volunteers. We haven't completely bounced back after COVID.
Right.
I think we're doing better than the national average. Hate for them, but we need admin help in our whole woman front office and in our admin office. We need that. We need women to be safe friends and mentors. We need drivers to drive women to their appointment. They can use their car or our vehicle once we get them approved. And then at Resource Warehouse, and we say that's probably the happy place. I think it's all happy, but it's fun to work there.
And also, you'll take car donations.
Thank you for saying
ladies.
that.
Yeah.
We desperately need some donated vehicles. Again, before COVID, we had probably 4 or 5 all the time, and then there was such a shortage on used cars.
Right. Yeah.
And so, yes, when a woman graduates our program and they have at least $500 in savings, they can apply for what we call Hope on Wheels, and they need that. That's one of the barriers that women face when they're trying to move forward. So when they don't have a vehicle, and we once they have a job and they're working, then we can award them a vehicle that's been donated to Safe Harbor. So if anyone has a vehicle that's in good working condition, we almost beg you for that.
That's great, because I know there's many. In fact, there's one I'm thinking about. We have that. We should do that and donate.
Well, thank you.
Yes. As a third
it makes a
vehicle.
big difference.
Yeah, and that's great. I have some ideas about some ways maybe we can do that. So,
okay, great.
And then there's one other thing I had to touch on is the High Country Recovery.
Yes,
Center.
I had that in my mind.
Okay. Tell me, assume that's in the High Country?
It is. It's in Boone
Okay.
on King Street.
Okay.
If people are familiar with King Street, there's a thrift store called the Rams Rack. We're diagonally across the street from that. We, just a few months ago, launched a community center there for women experiencing homelessness. But a year ago, we launched a service navigation for women seeking recovery. Not every woman needs long-term recovery. And some women are working and they're functional, but they need some help in their recovery. So we have trained recovery coaches that will walk alongside of them and help. We offer support groups there. But like I said, just in February, we also now serve women experiencing homelessness there as well.
And that's great. And are there plans for others, or just
that just kind of
steps
happened
there? Okay.
a couple of years ago? There was a small ministry that we had partnered with, and they were going to dissolve. And so when a nonprofit dissolves, you have to give anything you have to a like-minded ministry. So they called us, and we talked, and the executive director of that ministry became staff for us, and we launched the High Country.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. That's great. I know I live in Burke County, and I know there's a tremendous need in that area too. So maybe someday, and there's a lot of services there too. I don't want to, take away. There's some services for women, but you have such a great model to replicate.
And Kelly, I just spoke with the police chief there, and I shared with him that we're happy to share. We've had so many people share with us that have gone before us over the years, but there's a couple of surrounding counties that need something like Safe Harbor, and we don't have to be it. But we're happy to share.
That's amazing. Yeah, there is the homelessness task force in Burke County that has been created to do studies and to see what is needed.
Right.
And that was one of my thoughts was, first we got to find out why are they here and what do they need.
Right.
Because I see a lot every day as I come my commute in, and I just it's I don't know why they're maybe they're choosing to have that lifestyle or but if there's a need that we can help, that's what we need to focus on
and it's a vicious downward cycle. No one starts out wanting to be homeless.
Yeah.
Some people they're complacent, but usually what we see is there's a lot of trauma,
right.
And that you just spiral down.
Yeah.
But we've had women in our community center that have college degrees, and they just really hit a bad bump in the road.
Yeah, I know of a couple of people that have been touched by Safe Harbor, and their stories are amazing, and they're just amazing people. And there's a lot of amazing ladies that are there and come out up there on the better side. So
yeah, it's a blessing to have a front row seat to see that.
Well, we appreciate your work and continuing what Debbie's vision was, and then you've been the perfect person just to keep that going, and just a great.
Thank you. It's been such a blessing that God would allow me to be there and be a part of all the growth that we've seen.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you think of? Any other things I didn't touch on? Or
there's not going to be many nonprofit leaders that don't talk about donations,
financial
donations.
Yes.
So it really and truly, we do have a wish list. I'll say that on our website. When you ask what could people do, a lot of groups love to look at that wish list and collect for us and do a drive.
Yeah.
Well, everything that comes in saves us, on our budget. So any money we can save on needed household items and that sort of thing can be spent on programming. We have a monthly donor program that all of our monthly donors we call foundation builders, because it is the foundation. We know that's going to keep the lights on, right? So they get usually a video from our donor relations coordinator each month, thanking them and keeping them in the loop. And one other thing I'll mention is I do a little text video routinely. I try to do it weekly. It has to be under a minute because our software won't allow it to go over that. But anyone can sign up for that, and I just try to do like on location videos to keep people in the loop of what's going on at Safe Harbor.
Okay.
And you can sign up for that.
Okay. And then you have a Facebook page, I assume, too?
We do have a Facebook page, and we'd love for anyone to follow that, Instagram, LinkedIn as well.
That's great. And I know on the website there's a donate now
ma'am.
button. So
yes.
that's great. That makes it easy, too. And looking at the list, because I'm one, too, that I like to look at the list. And if we're out and we see sales or
that
things
would be
are on
wonderful.
Sale, that's a great way.
And we update that quarterly. And I do want to mention we are obviously, by my talk, a faith-based, Christ-centered ministry. And we have a prayer team. I believe with all my heart that's why Safe Harbor has been so successful. It's bathed in prayer.
Absolutely.
So anyone can join. We send out the first of every month. We send one prayer request a day. It's really easy. I've had families tell me that they put that on their kitchen table and they pray about that as a family. First impressed that they're even having a meal together.
Yes, exactly. And fitting that in. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's really good. I'll pass that along too to my family.
Thank you.
That's great. So, well, good. Well, thank you so much, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you for this opportunity, Kelly.
It's just a great, and this is it helps me to know that there's some way I can help as I see people out there, as we all do, as we all are out and about. We can see that and know something that we can help and donate in our time and our funds.
Right.
And
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA, SIPC. Southeast Retirement Planners is not affiliated with LPL Financial or registered as a broker-dealer or investment advisor.